warm welcome to all for this Purity series. Welcome back. We look forward to having you join us. We're first checking to see whether everyone that is needing the Spanish translation is able to connect with the Spanish translation. Please let us know if you're not able to connect, por favor, with the Spanish translation. Sounds like everyone is able to. Okay, very good. So today we have a series for today is called Purity and Realm of Light. Our guest speaker is Ingrid Honkala. Ingrid Honkala, PhD, marine biologist, former NASA oceanographer and international speaker, has had multiple spiritual transformative experiences, including 3 near-death experiences, 1 in childhood and 2 in adulthood, and many other close encounters with death. Dr. Honkala was born in Bogota, Colombia, where she grew up with her parents and 3 sisters. From the moment of her first near-death experience at the age of 2, Ingrid was aware of other dimensions of life other than those most of us normally experience. She was also gifted with the wise input of beings of light, who gave her invaluable insights and assistance as she faced the challenges of growing up and finding her professional destiny as an oceanographer and now as a giver of light. Throughout her life journey from her native Colombia to Europe and her eventual home in the USA, and from a deadly war zone to underwater explorations and a NASA research center, Ingrid shares how any human experience can be illumined from within when we are in alignment with our inner guidance. In her autobiography, A Brightly Guided Life, How a Scientist Learned to Hear Her Inner Wisdom, Ingrid details her amazing journey with the beings of light. Welcome, Ingrid.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And we also would like to welcome our moderator, Philippa Blackham. Philippa Blackham is a journalist and radio presenter, having worked for BBC Radio in the UK for many years, including 7 years as one of the voices of Women's Hour. She is now the coordinator of a national project, 100 Women of Spirit, which recognizes the spiritual contribution to society made by women. She is an ordained interfaith minister and has studied Raj Yoga meditation with the Brahma Kumaris for more than 40 years. Welcome, Philippa. Welcome back.
Welcome, Sister Ingrid. Sister Ingrid, we're looking forward to hear from you. I know I heard your one interview that happened in Oxford, London, and I was very fascinated when I heard it. I said, somehow we want you to be here. And it was so nice that Sister Philippa recommended you, and here you are. And I'm sure that everyone is going to enjoy your dialogue. And looking forward, we have at the center, we have upstairs and downstairs hall. There are listeners here, but together and also online. And we're going to have Nice time with you. And Sister Philippa, I see you with extra decoration. That decorated. You are decorated. You okay? Yeah.
Extra decoration. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Thank you for making this time today also, as usual. And Sister Elizabeth, welcome translating in Spanish language. And Sister Linda, thank you. And thank you all for being with us this morning in Dallas and wherever you are. We'll start now soon, Sister Philippa.
Thank you so much, Sister Ranjan, for that lovely warm welcome and the introductions as well. It's lovely to be with you all this morning in Dallas and no doubt beyond Dallas as well. And this feels like a special session this month because for the past nearly 2 years or more than 2 years that we've been discussing the theme of purity, it's been very much looking at our day-to-day lives, our relationships, our sort of states of consciousness, how we can bring a more pure attitude into everything that we're doing. But today's session is slightly different because we're going to be talking about the realm of light, that when people go into meditation, they often experience or they talk about, or people have this notion that when we die, we go into the light. Well, what exactly does that mean? Well, our dear sister Ingrid is the best person to talk about this because she can talk from first-hand experience. And as Ranjan said, Ingrid and I have met each other in the UK, and when we get together, we don't stop talking for hours. So we're going to have to try and work hard to, keep to the topic, because there is just so much to talk about with this. So Ingrid, it's lovely to see you and connect with you after a few months. Great to be with you again today.
Wow, it's so lovely to see you too. And I'm so grateful for this invitation to be here. Thank you, Sister Ranjan. Thank you, Sister Linda. Thank you, the BKs, Brahma Kumaris, for having me here and everybody that is here today with us. So,
well, you're so valuable as a connection for us because when we talk to people about meditation, one of the lessons is that we are surrounded by a realm of light that we call the subtle regions. And it's a place where we can be in our light bodies, in our subtle bodies. And it's a realm that many meditators in the Brahma Kumaris consciously work with. But here's you who have had these experiences of directly being in that dimension of light. So why don't we just dive in with your first death experience? And I think you did die and come back into your body. I think you were nearly 3 years old in the mountains up in Colombia, in Bogota. And your mother had left you in the care of an au pair, a nanny, who was not paying attention to you. And you and your sister went to play ball, throwing a ball across a reservoir of water, which was used for doing the washing. And you leaned forward to get the ball a little too far, and you fell into this water. It was the first time you had been totally immersed in water like this. The water was freezing cold. And of course, at that age, you couldn't swim. Take the story from there, Ingrid. What happened after that?
what happened after that was incredibly amazing and at the same time terrifying, because imagine the feeling of drowning. So at the first moment, it was this intense horror. And I always like to mention and to use the word contrast, because only through this contrast of the human experience, we can remember and we can go back to know who we truly are. That has been my experience. And when I am in that moment of absolute horror, not being able to breathe, something amazing happened. We could call it a miracle. And it was going from terror to absolute peace. It was this, I would just say, peace beyond understanding, because at that moment I didn't know what was happening. I just knew that a moment ago I was fighting to get out of this tank, fighting to get a little bit of air, and now I didn't need to breathe. I didn't need to go anywhere. I didn't need to do anything. I was just immersed in absolute peace. I even feel the chills. It's something that would never, it's the essence that we are, that peace. And another incredible thing that I experienced at that very moment is that right before I enter into this peace, my heart was pounding in my chest. Imagine when you're so scared, and I could even hear it in my ears like a drum, and the sound was gone. And now I enter into state of absolute peace and silence. And this is the silence that I call the silence behind the silence. And people ask me, how can you remember these experiences? You were just 2 years old. I mean, like, wow, how? I said, how can I forget if that brought me to experience the essence that I am, to the point that even after the experience, I would hide in closets, go in chapels, go under the bed, any place where I could find that silence. So that was something that I could never forget. And it was, how can I go back to that? The other thing that happened when I entered into that state was that the last thing I saw with my eyes open was darkness, because the tank was a deep tank. It had a roof. It was early in the morning. It was dark. So the last thing I saw was dark. And suddenly, light. So imagine the soothing feeling of like being in the dark, and suddenly there is light. And there is peace, and there is comfort. And now there is light. And then I saw a light that was coming from below, and I was surrounded by light. And incredibly later in my life, when I was thinking and deepening into all the experience, I received an insight that explained to me that the light that I saw, that I thought was coming from outside, was my own light. So now, but at that moment, I'm seeing light, and oh no, that sense, the light is here, and I started to see bubbles, and the bubbles were surrounded by light too. And I was like, oh, this is so much fun. And it was that I started to chase these bubbles, and when I turned around is when I saw my body. And my body was floating in the water. And the thing that surprised me the most, I mean, it really, seeing the body didn't surprise me. It was that clarity immediately. Oh, that's my body. Oh, like that's normal. But when I saw the eyes, you know how we say that the eyes are the mirror of the soul. When I saw the eyes, it was this feeling that the eyes were empty. Like, oh, like knowing that the body was just a shell, now it's empty. So I could just kind of ignore this body. And something happened when I talk about contrast that actually brought me to abandon that body completely, and was that I was born as a very sick child. And for almost 3 years, I was always unwell. I didn't know anything else. And the moment I realized I'm out of that shell, I don't need it, I made the decision. I feel extremely well right now. I was in the state of absolute well-being. Why do I want to go back there? And I turned around and I left the body behind. And from there, I started to see flowers, and this was majestic. I was picked by these flowers, and I started to experience just a state of just complete surrender. I can use the word surrender today. I didn't know it back then, but I said it's like going back to the womb, where you don't have to do anything, you're just being carried. And then when I am in that state, in just a flash, something I wasn't expecting happened. I was in the maid's room, the au pair, the lady, I was floating above her. And I'm like, oh, that's Maria? But Maria's completely unaware of what is happening. And from another blink like that, I appear floating above my mom. She was on her way to work. She was walking to catch her bus stop. Oh, to catch her bus. So she was close to her bus stop. And then now I'm floating above her. And something incredible happened at that moment. And it's the moment I said, oh, that's mom. She stopped. She didn't hesitate. She didn't give another step. She just knew that something was happening at home with one of her children. And she turned around and started to run. So at that moment, I have to say two things about my mom. She had an incredible intuition. She listened to that intuition. And the other thing, look at that power of transcending, how would you say, realms, physical, spiritual, time, space. Love transcends everything. In that moment, I was able to connect with my mom, and she knew what was happening, and she ran home. And then I'm looking at my mom and I'm thinking, oh, I wonder why is she running? And then I got distracted because at the end of the street, I saw a dog. I love animals. And the moment I think I feel the desire to be with the dog, I am with the dog. I'm like, whoa, this is so much fun. And then I saw a park, and the moment I feel I want to be in the park, I am in the park. So it's this realization that time and space as we know it completely shifted, and I could be anywhere, anytime. And I was having a lot of fun. But from there, in just another blink, I entered into a realm that was made of pure, intense, shiny light. And this was the first moment in my almost 3 years of life that I felt, I am home. I am home. And you know, if you think about home, that sense of warm and cozy, and you feel good and you feel embraced, invited, you're not alone. That was home. And then I started to feel that sense of kind of dissolving, the sense of like becoming part, the sense of interconnectedness with everything. But up to that point, I was still having a sense of self. And this was the moment, Philippa, when I also realized I am a being of light. I am light. And the sense of self started to dissolve. And it's when I experienced, this is really hard to put into words, probably the most difficult part of the whole experience, because it's the sense, I could just say non-self, but at the same time, a sense of wholeness, completeness, totalities. I entered into a state that I could just describe as pure presence and absolute consciousness. And, you know, later talking with Sister Yenti, I told her, but I always say, but it's like I dissolve, like my whole sense of self disappear. And she brought to my awareness, yeah, but You're still an individual. You still being you. And I said, yeah, that's true. So what is that truly happened? And she wrote to me this beautiful analogy that I've been using. I think is very powerful. And I think that is exactly what happened. I didn't know the concept of God because I was too little to know, but I was fully and completely embraced by the light. And for me, that light is God, the light of love, the light of purity, the light of just being embraced and completely merged. So what happened there, she said to me, imagine that you were a little baby. And when the baby is whole embraced by the mother, the father, the baby completely loses himself in or herself in the arms of the mom and the dad and completely forgets I'm this, I'm that. It just become one, but you still your own soul. You still you keep your individuality as a soul. So I said to her, that's exactly what I experienced. It's just pretty much like completely dissolving in the arms of the mother, the father, the love. And when I am in this state of being, my mom, like I was mentioning to you, she exactly knew what was happening. How I can even bring this to the clarity that when she got home, she knew exactly where to go. She didn't even go to another room in the house. She went to the patio, went to the tank, and right there in the tank, next to the tank was my oldest sister. She was too little to reach me. But she was trying and she was struggling. And she said to my mom, Ingrid is there and I cannot get her. And my mom jumped in the tank. She got me out. She was trained to do, she incredibly had received this training to do CPR for children. She worked with children. She was a teacher. And she did anything she knew. Up to this point, I was completely detached from this body. I did not feel anything she was doing. I was in my bliss in the arms of God. So my mom did everything she knew. And the only thing I felt at this point was like it suddenly just, again, like in another blast like that, I had jumped from the tallest building in the world. And there's nothing I could do to stop this. More like jumping, like I had been pushed, like I had to come back. And then it was the sense of being pulled, of being sucked back. And I resisted. I felt that sense of like, no. And then now I was back in the body. And I knew I was back because the feelings of, this is the other thing. I felt the sense of expansion, again, wholeness, totality, complete interconnection. Now I'm back in the body and I'm like now sensing the things of the body and feeling the call and I was very angry and I was very, very unhappy because from that moment on, I knew I'm not this body. I'm not this. And I will go to my mom. I will look at myself in the mirror and say, I'm not this. And I will go to my mom and cry, I'm not this person. This is not my name. This is not who I am.
It's so interesting because in a way you had a direct experience of this realm of light. And then you've spent the rest of your life trying to figure out, well, what is it and how does it work? Whereas the rest of us, we learn meditation and we're told about the realm of light and we try and experience it and understand what it is. So you did it the other way round. And, I think for me, one of the things that's particularly poignant is that you're speaking as a former NASA scientist, an oceanographer, as someone who's been in a war zone, as someone who has got a PhD. You're not an airy-fairy person in your life, and yet you've had this experience. And in many ways, it was a blessing for you, but also it created a sense of challenge in your life because you knew you weren't your body and you felt different from all the other children at school. You were very gifted. The teachers didn't really know how to teach you. And for a few years, you entered into a state of being unable to marry your day-to-day life with that experience. So if we fast forward now to your more recent years, when you've been learning about meditation and what you've heard about this dimension of light that we talk about here in the Brahma Kumaris, have you been able to match up those two experiences and bring understanding that you could share with us? Because, for most of us listening, it's just fascinating because it confirms what we experience in meditation. But for you, is there a direct correlation between that experience after you died and what you experience now in your meditation?
Yes, absolutely, is for me, because I had that experience and many more after that. From the time I was very little, I started that connection to say, kept open. So I started to later in my life, I was 4 years old, to directly communicate with I describe as beings of light. So for me, incredibly, Philippa, I always say in all my talks for a long time, I always said, it's like the door never closed. It's like the door never closed. And then until I received this direct teaching, they said, Ingrid, of course the door never closed because there are no doors. The light, what we call the kingdom of heaven, I call it universal light, God is here, is present, is always here for us. We just create due to conditioning beliefs, whatever we create doors, and we close that connection with ourselves, with the truth that we are, and with our father, mother, with God.
With the divine. So you're saying in a way that the doors are like a portal almost for us to experience the expanded version of ourselves that has no limits.
Yes, and the only way to get there, you mentioned meditation, is to learn to be quiet. Because for me, it's like after, like I said to you, I had my first near-death experience. It was, how can I go back to that silence? And my grandmother brought to me meditation from the time I was 8 years old. And my mother before that taught me prayer. So it's always go to that place of be quiet. But the difference that many people mention it, the prayer is in the asking, meditation, be quiet and listen. So when my grandmother taught me meditation, it was very important, although of course I have evolved in my understanding of what meditation is, what is it for. But through time, I also learned and realized it's not just when I sit and connect, but how can I keep that state? So I call it the meditation after the meditation, the practice after the practice. How can I keep that state of connection or connectedness and presence? So for me, it's more is turning to how can I keep that throughout my entire day? How after sitting and quiet in the morning, I go in these states of being quiet, and in my phone, I keep the app of stop every hour and remember. So is remember to remember. How can I use every moment of my life to remember? There is a sentence that I love and I use all the time. What is in the way is the way. So I use every moment, every challenge, every experience to use this to fuel my awareness. Use this to fuel my connection. Use this to fuel my presence. And in that presence, I remember who I am. I remember who I am. So yes, for me, through time is just going deeper and deeper into sustain and maintain that state of presence and connected.
And from this experience that you had, you mentioned the pure white light, the bright light. Do you have this sense that we are originally beings of pure light? We come into our physical bodies and have a physical experience, but our searching is in a way for that experience of purity, because it's where we came from and where we will return to is a state of purity. That is our natural way of being.
Yes, yes. And you know what happened, and probably many people use this example, but imagine that to me, the human experience is that of contrast to help us remember who we are. Because imagine that through times, I always have this feeling like, imagine that we're that light, that let's call it a point of bright, shining, intense light. But through our journey, like a mirror, if we never clean it, it become dirty, it become tarnished, and suddenly you cannot see in the mirror anymore. So it just, through all that journey, we forgot who we are. We disconnected with the truth that we are. We got distracted. We know how easy it is to become distracted. Just sit there and meditate for a minute, and already the mind is some like 10 million places. It's very easy to become distracted. We forgot who we are. And all these experiences of contrast bring us again to remember the only way to know what I am is by knowing what I am not. The same thing with emotions. The only way to know and understand and appreciate happiness is by knowing sadness. The only way to know and appreciate health is by being sick. The only way to know who you truly are is by removing the layers of what we are not. And only through this life and a challenge and experience, I realized, wow, I am not this. Or this is showing me that this is not the way I should go because it's bringing suffering, or it's bringing sadness, or it's bringing discontent. So little by little, sometimes by force, by challenge itself, we remove these layers. Some people, and they say it, they have to go through tremendous suffering. And at the end, they say, if it wasn't for this accident, I would have never go to spirituality or to meditate or to pray. Or if it wasn't for the, I don't know, the passing of this person or whatever it is, sometimes we need to be shaking really, really hard. And something, before we move to another question, something pretty interesting that people always ask me when you mention my career, they say, how could you become a marine scientist if you drown? Like, you should be terrorized of water. But look at how that contrast, I said, incredibly, is because drowning brought me to see the light. So when we're able to go beyond the trauma, when we're able to go beyond the challenge and see the gift in that challenge, is when we start seeing challenges as opportunities. Opportunities to grow, opportunities to evolve. Another incredible thing about, and this is such symbols that I think about later, said, wow, I drowned. Look, and you talk, and this is a beautiful place to talk about purity. I always think, imagine the water is the purifying symbol. Drowning, I think, is just a symbol to show me, look, that dying through water, through drowning, to purify, to go back to the essence that you are, to remember you are a being of light, you are the light. So it's amazing how life talks to us through everything, including the big challenges.
And that we have the experiences in life that we need in order to fulfill our destiny and our life purpose. And sometimes they can be difficult experiences, but there's often a silver lining or a teaching in there for us. I wonder how you have lived your life coming to terms with the limitations of the physical when you're so aware of what it feels like to be beyond the physical and to be in that unlimited state. Has that been hard for you? And can you now, as a regular meditator, will yourself to go back into that experience? Can you summon it and re-experience it?
You know, it was very hard for many, many, many years. I wanted to go back there. That's the thing. I was thinking that there was a there and a here. So for me, many years, and I became a very depressed person, despite of being successful studying. In my inner, I was always yearning to go back. I wanted to just, and you know, many times I thought, what if I just get rid of this? But to me, became when I experienced interconnectedness with everything, I realized how every one of my decisions could affect others. And I could never, never take my life thinking that that would affect my mom, that that would affect my family, that that would affect the people that love me. It was always the sense of, it's not just me.
Because you did contemplate committing suicide.
I did. But I thinking that any of my actions could cause harm to others, I could not do it. I never felt the sense I'm first and the others are second. I always felt that connection of all of us as one net of light. So for me, it was very difficult. And for many years, I wanted to die, even though I had deep experiences with meditation, deep experiences of connection, connecting with the beings of light. I was like, when can I go back home? And this happened until I had my last near-death experience. And in my last near-death experience, it was during a surgery. And during the surgery, my blood pressure dropped. I went into hypothermia and I was directly back in the light. And when I am in the light, I again go into that state of complete connection. And it's when I was given the choice. In the other two experiences, I was not given any choice. I was sent back. It's when I heard, do you want to stay or you want to go back? And when I heard the words, do you want to stay? For me, it was like, of course I want to stay. I've been wanting to stay all my life. This is what I want. And at that moment, you know, something happened. I also felt the sense that everything was perfect. That although I love my family, I love my son, it was like, if I don't go back, it's okay, because everything is perfect and they will have the experiences they need to have. But I wanted to stay. And then when I heard the words, or you want to go back, is when I realized, and I said, wait a minute. And that's when all those years of meditating and being in presence and being aware of who I am and let's call it the drama, we came to clarity. And I said, wait a minute, is this a test? I said, because if my connection with God is ever present, and everything is a manifestation of consciousness, if I am a soul, always, so where is here and where is there? I said, wait a minute, there is no here and there is not there. And the only words that came to my mind at that moment was, keep me where I can serve God the most. Keep me where I can serve you the most, I said to God. And at that moment, I was back. So for me was at that moment that sense of absolutely knowing home is not a place, home is a state of being. And from that moment, I said, it's not about near-death experiences, it's about near-life experience. How can I, with this body, with my practices, with my meditation, remember I am the light? It's not about the body. The body is just an instrument. It's how can I be so conscious here and now, no matter if I have this body or if I am here or there in the mind, because at the end of the day, in my connection with the truth that I am and my connection with God are clear, I don't need to go anywhere. Just be alive, just enjoy everything that is being offered to us here and now. And that's what really became important to me, because many people said to me, I wish I had a near-death experience. And I said, no, never. Because one, you don't imagine the trauma of the body. Two, to integrate a near-death experience is not that simple. Like you mentioned about my experience, Philippa, it took me, and it's in the scientific research, that for a child, it takes between 30 and 40 years to integrate that experience. And for an adult, it takes between 15 and 20 years, if you ever do. So
Well, you can, you can learn meditation, and we teach that you are not this body, that you are a point of light, eternally in existence, a point of pure light. And the practice is to kind of make that a reality in your life, to drop the consciousness of the body and to have this awareness of this point of light. And, we take years to get to the place of really experiencing that and knowing that to be true. When you look back over your life as an adult now, what do you think was the reason why you had to have all these experiences? What purpose do you feel they have served for you?
first of all, to bring this awareness and say, oh, yes, this is definitely who we are, to bring it to the light. And the good thing is now we're seeing is not just me, there's many more people that have had these kind of experiences. And it's like, it's kind of the proof. And one of the teachings I received, or one of the insights I received was, you are the living proof that there's no barriers, that home is a state of being, that being connected with the truth that you are is here and now, the moment you remove the layers of body consciousness. This is just an instrument for the soul to have the contrast that we need to go back and remember. See, but it's like, for me, living with this clarity and being able to bring it is a gift. And again, it took me many years because I didn't know how to share it. I was little when the Being So Light said to me, people are not ready yet. And they show me, this is so incredible because I had visions since I was little, and they showed me when, where, how it was going to happen. And all these things have become true. They said in how many years, even times that I didn't realize that time had passed, and suddenly like, whoa, they told me 20 years, and 20 years, the mark is now. So it's like, it was all this road of preparation to be able to be, and you know what, Philippa, not just to talk things at the level of the intellect, but be that. With my experience with the beings of light is always going to the place of being that, walk your talk, be that you say you are. So it's like in everything I have done and in my life, it's how can I be that love, that purity, that peace that I experience, that honesty, that humility, how can I be that? And it's been a whole journey to peel the layers of all the stuff and go deep and be that light. Like people say, how do I teach love? By being love. How I teach joy? By being that. Learn to go deep until you are in that state of contentment, presence, joy, because that's what we are. I said, if the essence that we are is love, purity, happiness, peace, then the true question is, what am I doing not to be that? So the journey is to peel those layers that we are not like an onion, and go back to remember. The other thing, again, using this word contrast, the being Soleil said to me when I asked a few things about my first near death, because it's so impactful, because I was so little, and I said, why this happened when I was so young? And they said to me, because you were old enough to remember, but young enough not to be conditioned yet. You were pure enough to remember, or to not have any conditioning in you, but old enough to remember your true nature.
And remember it, you certainly have, for all of these years. And it has been quite a lonely journey at time, because when you have an experience like this, other people find it hard to understand and relate to it. I'm curious to ask what your experience has been of coming across the Brahma Kumaris and talking with people who are on the same page as you when it comes to the dimension of light and us being beings of light, and talking about, the guides that are in that realm of light. And I know you went to India in October for the retreat at the Mount Abu headquarters. Tell me a little bit about your journey and what that has added to your own experience and understanding.
Oh, it has been amazing. I feel among family. To me, is the sense of, oh, I feel family. That's the warm. I even felt this feeling from the very moment I got an email from Sister Marcia from Worthing, from the Lighthouse. It was a couple of years ago, and I got invited by the Brahma Kumaris to do a program with Sister Yanti. Even from that moment, I told her, someday I will be in London. I said, someday I will meet you in London, and someday I will meet you in India. And she wrote back to me and said, yes, this will happen. It was that immediately I felt connected. And then 2 years later, I was doing another. It happened that I got invited to speak in Spain. And from there I said, Sister Marcia, what about if I go say hi to you? And she's like, no, what about if we do programs? And it happened. I met Sister Yenti in London. Then being in London, I felt completely at home with the family. And then to the point that I almost felt, I don't want to leave. I felt bad about, because I love my family and everything, but I'm like, I am just so feeling so connected. And then she said, in October, you will go to India. And I said, yes, I will. I didn't even doubt it. Didn't even have to think about it. And then October last year, I ended up going to India and feeling a complete sense of familiarity. I was even in the mountains. We were driving and going in the car in the mountains, and it was the feeling like, I already been here. I already know this place. Nothing felt unfamiliar to me. And incredibly, there was another really cool thing that happened, and is that I had been in India 16 years before that. And it was, I don't remember if it's 15 or 14. I cannot remember clearly, but someone told me later that was the time that it took from at the time from the group to leave, I think, Pakistan and go
14 years, yeah.
14, so it was 14 years exactly. this is amazing. 14 years before this day, I was in India. So
Wow.
that was just amazing. And I had also a vision a few years ago of me seeing myself and a teacher of the light in Pakistan. So I didn't know where that vision was coming from or why. But when I was in India, I just felt all these connections. I felt incredibly at home, and of course it added more and more of the clarities of all that I have experienced.
It all suddenly kind of clicked and made sense.
Even more.
I wonder, when you look at your work now of talking to people about this experience of the deep peace that is there in that realm of light. The world is going through challenging times right now, and a lot of people are feeling a sense of despondency and despair. What do you see as being the importance of knowing about this experience of the light and the deep peace, and that we are beings of pure light ourselves? Why does the world need to hear this message right now?
Oh gosh, we are at a time where a lot of people feel hopeless and a lot of people feel worried. And one teaching I have received is really beautiful, because it says, do not be concerned for what others do. Not because you don't care, but because you care so much that you fix yourself first. So I said to people, first knowing that you are the light, and first knowing that you have a place deeper in you that goes beyond this matter, beyond these problems, beyond these situations in the outer, help you just regain that state of presence and connection, and that little place at the beginning, if we don't know how big it is, but at least the little place within you, as we recognize it at the beginning, where you can be at peace, regain your strength, connect with whatever you feel is your source of light. You can call it God, you can call it source, you can call it universal consciousness, you can, whatever at the you feel is that give you the strength. Imagine you have tools to do that we can offer people the tool to look. If you sit for a moment and you said, I am peace, I am a peaceful soul, I am a loving soul, I can find quiet space in the midst of all this noise. At least you have a place to regain your strength. You feel, what can I do? And the work now and the work I do and is, how can I be the change I want to see in the world? And having that opportunity to find those little moments of quiet spaciousness give us that strength. And if I said to people, don't lose yourself in the collective, because you will feel the sense of losing all your power. You will feel disempowered. Don't go out in the collective. Go in, regain your strength, and think of you as the light in your home. What can I do with my family? What can I do with the person at the store? What can I do when I walk in the street? How can I offer a smile? How can I offer a moment of presence? See is how from here ripples out, instead of taking of the out and damaging more yourself. Is like, how can I go back center? And that's what we do, teaching people all these practices and reminding people you are that light. And you can be that light. That smile that you offer is the light in the lives of someone that day probably was thinking about committing a crime, committing suicide, being depressed. Be that light. Be the light of joy, be the light of love, be the light of peace. So when people, and I remember this beautiful teaching when people always ask me, what is purpose and what is mission? And I always, hey, I want to receive something concrete. And when I received the insight that says your only purpose and true purpose is to remember that you are the light. What is that of being I am the light of love. I am the light of peace. I am the light of purity. I am the light of joy. I am the light of calmness. And your only mission, true mission, is to share that light. How can I be that light in the life of others? Here and now in my own home, people sometimes think that you have to do it for millions. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. Just be that presence here and now. And you're ready.
I love that. It's very simple, that the focus is on really connecting to that deep place within, which is peace, and coming from that place of peace, and everything will follow from that. But the other part of the experience that you have shared with us today is that dissolving into the love of the divine and feeling that sense of bliss, which is another part of the experience of meditation. And before we finish with a few moments of meditation, could you just say a few more words about how you now understand that feeling of the bliss of the one beyond, of the divine? How does that show up in your life now?
Oh, absolutely, all the time. It's like, to me, it's like having the greatest friend, companion. Everything is just right there. It's a part, like, how can just always connecting and talking with someone. You're never ever alone. So I was in deep meditation. This is another beautiful thing that happened not long ago, and I just was saying, God, I serve you, because it's in service that I also feel like I'm just shining the light, that I'm remembering that I am. And it's a daily work. I'm not going to say I am resolved. No, I am resolving myself every day. But it's in that presence and in that connection and asking God, give me clarity. I never ask God, change things. I said, give me clarity, help me understand, because I cannot see. And in one of my meditations, I said to God, I said, oh God, I serve you. And I received this powerful insight that says, you serve no one. You are service itself. You are that. It's like our Father, Mother in heaven, the divine is the absolute bestower. He doesn't need us to serve him. We are that. This other teaching that says the Father would not ask anything from you. The Father would not ask you to bow. The Father would embrace you. He's the ultimate protector. He's the ultimate giver. So for me, it's like that communication. In the Brahma Kumaris, we call it Baba. Baba, show me clarity. I don't know what is this challenge. Show me. It's having him as a companion all the time. Help me remember you. How can I do to remember you? Remember to remember. So it's like, for me, that connection with God is like, if you have the best relationship with a friend, with a father, with your mother, with your sister, with your brother, and how to maintain that relationship alive all the time.
Wow. It sounds amazing hearing you talk about something so naturally that for many of us we have to work at, and for you it just has been your life path, that these experiences have come to you and you're now living them. So could I invite you, Ingrid, finally to just share a few moments of meditation and take us into that experience of the realm of pure light that is there eternally for us to connect with.
No, I would love it. Yes. So I invite you all to just breathe deep Some prefer to keep the eyes open. Some prefer to lower the gaze or close the eyes, however you feel better. And in breathing deep, we invite our body just to relax, just to rest. It's a moment to also appreciate that this body is serving the soul. It's a way for the soul to bring its light to this world. And we learn to just relax. Relax the head. Relax the arms. Relax the belly. Relax the legs. Relax your feet. And this profound relaxation, invite the presence, the calmness, the love, the peace that we are. And our feet touching the ground, feeling the embrace of the Mother Earth. And imagine that your feet are touching water and you're standing in front of a lake filled with warm, inviting water. You go into this pool of water, embraced by the warmth of this all-embracing water. And then you realize that this water is in reality a pool of light, bright, shiny light, embracing you all around. And as you go deeper and look within, you start sensing that this light is not just around yourself, but this light is within you. This light is what you are. You are a being of radiant, pure, bright light that shines purely. You are that peace. That peace that you perceive from the outer is the peace that you truly are. That warm feeling, that love, that presence is what you are. And navigating who you are as light, you remember that you are not alone. That the light that you are is also the light that everyone else around you is. Every one of our brothers and sisters are made of the same pure, bright, intense, shiny light. And our light touch, and we realize that we're all connected. And this connection brings us even deeper to realize that we are not alone. And we have never been alone, because we are all part of a net that connects us all as one, and that we're all under the umbrella of our Father, Mother in heaven, that at the same time embraces all. We are the children, the loving children of the divine, always adore, always love, always bless, always, always taking care of. And in that feeling, we regain our inner power, our sense of trust and hope, and our light shines brighter than ever. And we're here to shine and share this light with the ones that have forgotten. Let's be that light of purity. And remember to see, to look in the eyes of our brothers and sisters. In that remembrance that they are the light.